make sure we're live. There we go. Alright, hi everybody. Today we're talking about scales. Now this might seem remedial to some of you, but I'm just going to sort of go through, talk about the major scales, how to learn them, how to practice them. This is geared towards probably younger students or anybody who's having a hard time learning their scales, because scales really aren't too bad. All right, so I'm going to start with. I have my program open. Scales are pretty simple. I want to start with one thing that's fairly confusing for people is when somebody says concert B flat scale, right? They don't really mean start on a B flat on the trumpet, right? Concert B flat is going to start on a C. Why is that? Well, the whole world of concert pitch, when they play a B flat, like a piano, all right? Piano is a concert pitch instrument. Piano, boom, you play a B flat on the piano. For a trumpet, as a B flat instrument, we need to play a C to match that sound. So, especially for you guys working on your middle school region auditions, if you hear concert whatever, you got to think next letter in the alphabet. I'll come back to that in a second, because the easiest part about scales is they're all alphabetical. All right, they're in alphabetical order. Nothing could be simpler. So we're going to start with this scale, and I'll even write it in here just so we remember. Now you label scales based on the starting note. This is the C scale or your concert B flat scale. Again, just like we talked about, concert B flat means it starts on your C. All right? Now I said that scales are alphabetical. So when you're building a scale, it starts on your first scale tone. Here's C for your C scale or your concert B flat scale. We're going to start on a C. We go up the alphabet until we get to the next C. And that's a 1 octave scale. Octave, oct, that's 8. 8 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. The C is the 8th note. That's an octave. It spans 8 notes, an octave. So we're going 1 octave for this scale. After C, the next note is A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And of course B, and then C. So here's our scale. Now you can practice playing it. Most people know this scale. No trouble. Now if you're a trumpet player, just a couple things maybe one thing to note. I'll pull my slide out. This note, D, right here, you're going to want to pull your third slide, sometimes your first slide if your third slide's sticking, or usually you're going to use your third slide. The thing that your ring finger is, your left hand ring finger is in that ring. You're going to push out so that this D, which is normally very, very sharp, the more valves you use on a trumpet, the sharper the note. You're going to want to tune this note so it sounds good. Without it, I don't know if you can hear the difference. Here's without tuning that note. Here's with tuning the note. When you get used to it, there's a distinct difference, all right? And you want to make sure you're playing in tune. And you can check with a tuner to make sure you're exactly in tune, but check that out, pull your slide out for a D. So here's your scale. Now, when you're practicing it, you want to try practicing it without looking at it, right? So let's scroll up a little bit. Now you have nothing to look at. You're completely blind. You want to think the scale in your mind. Okay? So think in your mind. C, D, E, F, G. Now, most of the smart Alex students I have in my class, or the sincere students who just out of habit can't help themselves, they'll say C, D, E, F, G. What comes after G? H. No. Starts over A, B, C. The starting note goes alphabetically up to the same note, up an octave. Remember, 8 notes. The 8th note, that's an octave. And then you go back down. Most people have trouble when you're starting to learn music and your scales going down because now all of a sudden you're flipping the alphabet backwards. So from the top is C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. So if you're going to learn your scales, you want to be able to know them in your head. They're alphabetical, so you already know the alphabet. Gives you an advantage. You can figure this out. But take a look. To figure it out from the top to the bottom, and to learn all your scales this way, think through your alphabet. I'm going to try to give you a helpful trick or tool, whatever. Be able to say your alphabet backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. How are you going to remember that? So you have G, because nothing goes, your musical alphabet doesn't go past G. G is the last note. Before the G comes F. Before the F comes E. Before the E comes D. Now, just so you can visualize this, let me write this here for you. So we have A, let's do this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? So you see your alphabet right here. Very simple. If you spell it backwards, it's G, watch this, F-E-D. What does F-E-D spell? Spells fed. F-E-D. As in I fed my dog, I fed my cat. You want to get fed at dinner time, or the federal government. Fed. F-E-D. So practice saying, and practice this by yourself. If it helps for you to type it in the chat, type it in. F-E-D, G-F-E-D, 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 G-Fed, G-F-E-D, G-F-E-D, G-F-E-D. And with that repetition, get good at that. Help yourself remember. Give yourself this simple trick, G-F-E-D. And then the last 3, your alphabet backwards, C-B-A. C-B-A. That's not too hard. Most people don't have trouble figuring out C-B-A. And then you put it all together, G-F-E-D, C-B-A. G-F-E-D, C-B-A. G-F-E-D, C-B-A. And you repeat it. G-F-E-D, C-B-A. G-F-E-D, C-B-A. G-F-E-D, C-B-A. Forever. So when you're going through your scale, C-B-A, G-F-E-D-C. So you have C-B-A, G-F-E-D-C. G-F-E-D-C. And all your scales are going to work this way. If you know your alphabet backwards and forwards, you're going to have a distinct advantage. Okay? So there's our concert B flat scale going up. I didn't write going down because I assume that you can just go backwards, right? And when you're playing it, depending on what region you're in, how you're playing your scales, a lot of people will play da 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 da, quarter note, 8th note rhythm. It's fine. I'm more concerned right now about learning each of these scales. Okay? So this is the simplest of all the scales to learn. We're going to go to another one. Why don't I'll leave that for now, because why not? I'm going to change key signatures. And let's do another scale. So this scale has 1 flat. and I'll give you a couple things to think about and a couple ways to think about your scales. For instance, when this scale is going to start on an F, and it goes up the alphabet. I already give you the key signature, so you know it's going to be a B flat. But let me show you another way to think through your scales. So imagine the chromatic scale. Some of you know the chromatic scale. And if you're familiar with the chromatic scale, in fact, I had a group of beginners I tried this out with. I taught them all their notes. I taught them the chromatic scale, and they were able to use this technique to learn all their other scales. It worked great. I'll give you, let me show you here. So if I use, no, I don't want to do that. Let me get rid of, well, let me do this. I'm going to change the key signature, show you what I mean. That's gone. So I'm going to start on C, and I'm going to go up chromatically. So these are all of your notes. And I'll just keep going up. Okay. So here's the chromatic scale. Now, something you can do using the chromatic scale, let me just move this here. So we have all of our notes. The chromatic scale is made up of what they call half steps. That's the distance between each note. These are half steps. A whole step, so from here to here's a half step. You can probably guess 2 half steps equal a whole step. So C to D to E, these are all whole steps. There's a formula for creating a major scale based on half steps and whole steps. So for instance, if we're starting on an F, the first interval, if we're going to play a major scale, is a whole step. So up here, let me get rid of this. Here's our F. The order is going to be, I'll give you the full order. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I'm saying that again. If you're using these half steps, if you're going to play a major scale based on your chromatic scale, the order is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that means whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. I'll show you what I mean. Here is F. A whole step up from an F is a G. G. Whole, whole. A whole step up from the G is an A. Now we have half. A half step up from an A is an A sharp. And you can also play that like a B flat. So here's our A sharp or B flat. And I'll write this like this just so you can see it. Whole, whole, half. Now whole, 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 half. A whole step above the B flat is a C. So I'm going to write that in here. No, go back. No, don't do that. Whole. From a C, a whole step up is a D. From a D, a whole step up is an E. And then half is the F. That moves a lot, huh? Go back. I must have it zoomed in too much. So now you can see the chromatic scale. These are all your notes. And our order is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And I could label that too, if it's helpful. Watch this. So between here and here is a whole step. And then we have another whole step. Here we have a half step. And then we have a whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay? Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So now, if we go back, and I showed you the key signature earlier, we have one flat. See how that flat went away? Watch this. If I get rid of that, so here's the flat. Where is that? Edit, redo. Now if I put the key signature here, that goes away because the key signature implies that this is a flat. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And here we have our concert. Can you guess it? Concert what? This is our concert E flat scale. So we talked about concert pitch earlier. So concert E flat. We talked about how scales, if you're talking about concert pitch, a scale for the trumpet is going to be the next note in the alphabet. So concert E flat, you go back to our alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F. So our concert E flat scale starts on an F. We talked about whole steps and half steps. Super important. When you're dealing with concert pitch, concert anything is going to be a whole step below the note that you're going to play. Give you an example. Again, here's our chromatic scale. Right? If we look at B flat, so this is our concert B flat scale right up here. It starts on a C. Here's the formula. Concert B flat is going to be a trumpet player's C. See, half step, from here to here, from the B flat to C is a whole step. Concert B flat starts on whole step up, C. Over here, this is concert E flat. Here is a D flat and E flat are the same thing. So E flat, half step, a whole step up from an E flat is an F. So concert E flat, the trumpet's going to start on F. Okay? So here's our scale. We know there's a flat in it. You can use the alphabet method. You can use the whole half, whole half idea to figure this out. But to remember this scale now, if you know that it's alphabetical, that gives you a big advantage, right? So if I scroll up, get rid of it, now you have nothing to look at. We know that we can spell it. It starts on an F. If you were to play just the notes alphabetically, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, you'd be really close to what that scale ought to be, right? I showed you the key signature. We already know that there's a B flat. So in your head, remember there's a B flat, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. And then backwards. So on F, we talked about the alphabet backwards. So F going down, the backwards alphabet, F, E, D, C, B, flat, A, and then that backwards order starts again with G, and then we end up on F. Okay? So those are a couple ways to learn scales, helpful ways of figuring out scales, remembering your scales. Let me give you another thing to guide you as you're learning your scales. So let me erase this. Gone. I'll leave that. So here's another scale. I'm not going to give you the key signature yet, but I will give you the starting. Well, here, this is what I'll do. This is going to be your concert. See if you can figure this out. Concert C scale. Okay? So we talked about a couple ways of figuring this scale out. Concert C, I said before, whatever it is concert pitch, it's going to start on the next letter of the alphabet. A, B, C, D. That's our starting note. Another way to figure this out is we talked about whatever the concert pitch is, the trumpet note is a whole step above. So if you know your chromatic scale, if you know all your notes, here's a C, a whole step up is a D. If you don't know your chromatic scale, that is, well, maybe we'll talk about it. We'll see how much time I have. See how much interest there is. So to figure out this scale, I said you can go up alphabetically. You can use the whole, half method based on the chromatic scale. And we can use both those to figure it out. Let me go back here. Scales. There, isn't that nice? So here's concert C. Another way you can figure it out is if you've played some of the other major scales. Most of my students are in the situation where they know what a major scale sounds like, right? So if I play a scale that I know, I know that sound. You can think about this if you ever saw that movie, The Sound of Music. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's just those. That's the sound of a major scale. So if you're trying to play a major scale, here we know the starting note. Use your ear to figure out if there are any sharps or flats. So if we play it, we know it starts on D. We know that we can go alphabetically forward. D, the next letter in the alphabet, is an E. There we go. So we're pretty confident if we play. Okay, that sounds major-y. Sounds like a major scale, sorta. Now the next note, D, E, F. Okay, so some of you who have more sensitive ears might notice something strange or ominous or different about that note. There's something goofy about it. We'll get to that in a second. So if we just go up our alphabet, no, there we go, B, C, D. If we just use our alphabet and we play that scale, it sounds strange. The first strange sounding note, if you listen, is that. Okay? So that note sounds a little goofy. That's our F. So we know that there's only one scale. If you didn't know, I'll let you know. There's a couple rules about scales that you might as well know. Your major scales, that is. With all your major scales, none of the 12 major scales are going to share a key signature. There's only one scale that has all natural, no sharp, no flat. All the other scales have either sharps or flats, not both. No exceptions. So in this case, we know that concert B flat is the scale that has all naturals in it. This one is not going to be all natural. We know that the F is not an F natural because it sounds weird. Let your ear be your guide to some extent, unless you have terrible ears. And then we'll talk about that. Maybe. If you have terrible ears, post it in the comment box. Ha! We'll fix it. So you have this third note. It's not an F. Let's try a different note. We'll try an F sharp. And let's play the scale with that, because it sounded weird as F natural, so change something. Logically. Oop. So it sounded pretty good up to that C. The C was the next strange sounding note. So should we try a C flat? No, it's either sharps or flats. What if we had thought it was an F flat from the beginning? Let's say if we thought it was an F flat. Oh no. F flat is the same as an E. Or they're very similar. Let's put it that way. So we know it's an F sharp. It's not an F flat. This has sharps in it, not flats. So the C was the next strange sounding note. So we know it must not be a C natural. It cannot be a C flat because you cannot have sharps and flats in the same major scale. Boom. C sharp. Here we go. And now we have it. Okay? Let's do another scale. Let's do concert. Here's a fun one. D flat. So let's figure out the starting note in the two ways that we did it before. Here's our chat. Let me see. So we can figure out the starting note a couple different ways. Remember we talked about your D flat. Concert D flat, the starting note is going to be the next letter in the alphabet. E. Okay? Now let's double check it. Is E a whole step up from a D flat? So here we have C sharp, also known as D flat. Here's our D flat. A whole step up from a D flat is half step, an E flat. Okay, so we were close, right? E flat. Concert D flat starts on an E flat. It's the next letter, and it shares a flat. That's just about the coolest thing in the world. So we can use the whole step, half step method, figuring out the scale. Once you do that, I want you to get to a point where you can also, well, let me show you. So if you have a copy of your scales, here's your concert D flat scale. D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. Let me show you. I don't normally show this because it's a trick, and I don't want it to make you weak. But here, I'll play it. All right, here's your scale, and here's a trick to learning the scale. Number one, I think it's most important that you know what's in your scales. I think you should know the scale and remind yourself that it's alphabetical. E flat, and without looking at it, we know that there are 1, 2, 3 different flats. In the correct order, let me see. We have B flat, E flat, A flat. That means this, and this. 3 flats. I'm not counting this as 2 separate flats. It's the same note, for crying out loud. So let's scroll up so that now you're looking at nothing. Concert D flat starts on E flat. We know that it has B flat, E flat, A flat. We're going to have to remember, but it's alphabetical. So E flat's the first note. F is the next letter in the alphabet. G is the next letter in the alphabet. After G, it goes back around the horn to A flat, we said. B flat. And then C, D, E flat. Coming back down. D, C, B flat, A flat, then G, F, E flat, and that's the entire octave. So if you're really struggling, let me bump this over here. There we go. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. There we go. So if you're really struggling with this scale, there are tricks, okay? I'm not crazy about them, but it is good to know that the fingerings are easier than you think. It's good to recognize these patterns. It's best to know the scale notes, the flats. Like, you need to know the letters. Don't ever get out of that. But it's good to know how your fingers interact with the trumpet. So for instance, the first note, 2 and 3. The second note, 1. The third note, open. So those are your fingers. So play that real quick. 2 and 3, 1, open. And do that a couple times. 2 and 3, 1, open. Pretty easy, all right? Now, let's take a look at the next note, the A flat, 2 and 3, 1, you're never going to believe it, open. What? This is insane. So we have the first 3 notes, 2 and 3, 1, open. The next 3 notes after that, 2 and 3, 1, open. So now, put those all together. 2 and 3, 1, open, 2 and 3, 1, open. The easiest thing in the world. You see how this pattern just repeats itself? And then, if you think it gets more difficult, it doesn't, because you literally just count. Okay? Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Go over there. Here we have 1, 2. Okay? So if you're really hurting to learn this scale, we have this recurring finger pattern. 2 and 3, 1, open, 2 and 3, 1, open, and then 1, 2. For this one, it's worth going back down. Just to show you the fingerings going in reverse are just the fingerings going in reverse. So we're back to 1, and then it's open, 1, 2 and 3. Open, 1, 2 and 3. Okay? So, open. Oh no, messed up everything. Open 1, 2 and 3. Open 1, 2 and 3. Again, I don't love using finger patterns for learning scales, but I think it's good to understand the finger patterns for speed purposes. Now, another thing that I really like, well, I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll get to that scale first. So with your concert D flat scale, a very close relative is your concert D scale. Okay? So let me put this, take that. Let's take this out for a second. Cut. Put it down here where I don't have to look at it. So the next scale we'll do is concert D. Concert D. So if you've learned concert D flat, and you know that D flat, concert D flat starts on an E flat, you can guess that concert D starts on, what's your guess? An E. Precisely. Now this is not the right key signature. I'm going to show you the right key signature in a second. No. Wow. Don't do that. 3. Oh, that's what I did. So this has to be an E. That I don't care about. So with this scale, I'm going to spell it. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. No, I got the wrong one. There we go. That can just get out of here. Whatever. One more note. Alright, there we go. Let's do this. Huh. Let me try expanding this. So here's the next scale we're working on. I'm going to zoom out just a second. Move. There we go. Because I want you to be able to see both these scales together. Because it's interesting. So I'm going to, there we go. So here we have 4 sharps, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. That's not the easiest to look at, but let me show you a relationship between your E scales. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So if you look at it, this can be helpful because I'm all about being creative, having fun when I'm analyzing and looking at this stuff. It doesn't have to be horrible and boring and awful. That's why I don't mind using fingerings to learn it and to help build speed. But again, you have to know the notes, you have to know the flats. The interesting thing about the E scales, the ones that start on E or E flat, is we'll start with this down here. E is the bottom note, E is the top note. Just like every scale, the bottom and top note are the same. What is interesting is you have two sharps, then you have two naturals, and then two sharps in between your E's. Okay? Watch this up here. Your concert D flat scale. E flat at the bottom, E flat at the top. You have two naturals, two flats, and then two naturals. See how that works? So learning the scale can be very easy if you think of this. E flat at the bottom, E flat at the top. We're going to have two naturals, two flats, two naturals. This is sort of reverse from what you see in your concert D scale. You have two sharps, two naturals, two sharps in between, like the E sandwich. Okay? Does that make sense? Let me say it again. You have E flats on the outside. You have two naturals, two flats, two naturals if you go up in order. So if you're thinking about the scale, it's E flat, F natural, G natural, A flat, B flat, C natural, D natural, E flat. And coming back down the same way. D natural, C natural, B flat, A flat, G natural, F natural, E flat. Down here, concert D, you have E natural, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, two naturals, C sharp, D sharp, E. It's a trick that can help you remember your E scales, okay? I think it's important, again, just know your letters, know the sharps that are within this, but this can be helpful also, visualizing it like this. So if I take this away and you think through it again, we have E flat, go up the alphabet. The next letter is L, F. Then we have G. Now the next two are going to be flat. After G comes A flat, B flat. Then we have two naturals. After B comes C, and then D, and then finally E flat. And the same thing going down. For your concert D scale, and you can quiz yourself on this, the E's are on the bottom and top. You're going to have two sharps, two naturals, two sharps. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Okay? Now I'll give you one more helpful observation, let's call it, when you're learning the concert D scale, because this can be a helpful tool for building speed, let's say. Because again, you're not going to overanalyze this stuff. The more ways that you look at something, the more creative you are when you look at something, the more patterns you see, it's only going to make you better. Don't limit yourself. Don't just, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Here's E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. The thing I like about this scale is, except for the very top note, your second valve is down the whole time. Now that might not seem like much, but if you play it, if I tell you if I scroll away and I say start on E, and I want you to play that concert D scale starting on E, keep your second valve down the whole time until you get to the top. You're going to remember F sharp. You're going to remember G sharp. You're going to remember the C sharp. You're going to definitely remember D sharp. Now, take another look. The majority of this scale is this. 1 and 2, 2. 1 and 2, 2. 1 and 2, 2, except for the top note. Okay? So if I tell you just play 1 and 2 to 2, the third note's 2 and 3, and the rest of it is 1 and 2, 2. That's the pattern. First and second. Second valve. Now don't forget G sharp, that's the third note. Then, because it's 1 and 2, 2, 1 and 2, 2, and then E at the top. Then G sharp, don't forget it. And then 2, 1 and 2. The majority of it is just those two different fingerings, 1 and 2, and then second valve. If you were so inclined, you could play the top E first and second also, if you wanted to. And then all you have to do is remember your G sharp. The scale is very similar to your concert E flat scale. Your concert E flat scale starts on F, and that's the scale that, except for the A, is 1, open, 1, open, 1, open, 1, open, forever. It's one of the first ones people learn right here. Because 1, open, then you have an A, 1, open, 1, open, 1, open, 1, open, 1, A, open, 1. Very simple. So that covers quite a bit of scales so far. Well, how many have we done? Concert B flat, so we did our C scale, we did our D scale, E flat, E, F. We didn't do our G scale yet, but this is more about teaching you how to learn your scales, how to figure out your scales. I want you to be more familiar with your scales. Let me give you just maybe, what a lot of people do when they're playing or learning scales is they use the old repetition method. So let me go down here, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me, what if I put it, let me open that up a little bit. Okay. So here we'll use concert. Okay, here's one that people have trouble with. How about this? Okay, so concert, let me tell you how I try to teach this one. One way that I do it. So this is going to be concert, I wasn't going to do this one. Concert G. So using our technique, the next letter in the alphabet, please don't say H. You wouldn't believe how many times I hear students say H. Just don't do it. Just please don't do it. Concert G starts on A. Now I don't care where you start. Most of my middle schoolers are playing A down here. There's an A. Some of them don't realize that this is an A. It is an A. That is how you play an A all day. So just using the alphabet method, if you're learning your concert G scale, here's a good way to learn it right now. Hello, Michael Ortiz. You wrote H. You are a punk, and I misspelled punk. I'll try it again. There. You are not a punkle. A punkle is not a word. Thank you, Michael, for being that person. Grab your horn and learn something. How about that? Can I block you? Let me see. I can report, remove. I can't do anything. Whatever. I'm just kidding, Michael. Good to see you. So, A. So what I want you to do right now, grab your horn and play your alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A on top. Okay? Do it. Do it. Get your trumpet out. And if I have to wait, that's fine. I'll wait. Go get it. Get your trumpet. All right, here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Here we go. I'm going to play it slow. Think through the letters of your alphabet. I already messed up what I was going to do. I played an F sharp instead of an F natural. But the next thing, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Change one thing. If you're learning your concert G scale, this is helpful. Just change one note. Change the G into a G sharp. If you don't know what G sharp is, look up here. There's a G sharp. And it sounds like this. Great. So we added a G sharp. Let's also change our F into an F sharp. Sounds like this. It almost sounds like a major scale. We're missing one note, and that's going to be our C sharp. Instead of a C, play a C sharp. And before you know it, you know your concert G scale. I'll spell it just for giggles. There you are. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Your concert G scale. Nothing could be easier. Let's talk about another scale that isn't played quite as often because it's not a key signature people tend to use very much. But I'm going to spell it like this. Because if you can figure out your concert B flat scale, I'll bet you can figure out this scale. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Concert B flat scale. What I want you to try to do is play your concert B scale. Oh my goodness. Concert B. Just kidding. So here's concert B. Concert B does not start on a C. Concert B flat starts on a C. Concert B starts on a C sharp. Boom. Okay? Are you with me so far? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If you're going to play concert B, what you have to do is put a sharp in front of each of these notes. Okay? Now, you should be able to think through that. Okay? Scroll down. You can't see anything. You're blind. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now say the exact same thing, not difficult, with a sharp. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. And then get very good at saying C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. And enunciate it, okay? And then learn what each of those notes are. C sharp, D sharp, E sharp. Now I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just say F? Why don't you? Why don't you just F? Because it's E sharp. It's not an F, it's an E sharp. Yes, it's also played first valve. Think E sharp. Do yourself a favor. Learn more things. Okay. E sharp, which is first valve, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp. But Mr. Luce, why not just play a C? Yeah, play a B sharp open. It's good for you. Learn more things. B sharp, no valves. C sharp. Okay? You just put a sharp in front of each of the notes. It's still alphabetical. I think that scale is easier than a scale with 4 or 5 sharps, because with 4 or 5 sharps you have to keep track of what's natural and what's sharp, right? In this case, everything's sharp. You don't keep track of everything. You just C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. The same would be true if you played C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat. So take your concert B flat scale, a key, and play your concert, I don't want to say, I mean, it's kind of like your concert A scale, but it's more like calling it your concert, well, because what would we do? It's more like playing your concert B double flat scale. If you just did B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat. And maybe I'm concert B double flat. I wonder. Maybe you could just call it concert A and play it like that. But yeah, if you put a flat in front of each of these, well, I didn't mean, I want a C flat. Come on, just, it's not gonna let me notate it that way. But I can do, it's not letting me do that either. I want to do E sharp. I want to do a B sharp, but it's making me do that. Which you can make fun of me for, because it won't let me do an E sharp. It won't let me do a B sharp. But whatever, I don't care. This is more for your thinking. I want you to know what a B sharp is. I want you to know what a C flat is. So learn the scale that's a half step above your C scale, your concert B flat scale. And you learn that by, a half step above would be sharping everything. A half step below would be flatting everything. And be able to think through all that. That's going to make some other scales that you play easier. Okay, so that sort of touches on what a lot of the beginner students might be dealing with your scales. Some of you more advanced players might be working on more advanced scales, or just playing in different keys, getting used to different key signatures, learning scale patterns in all keys. This is the fundamental, this is the basis of all that. You need to know all 12 major scales. So now let's step up just a little bit. When you're practicing, this is how to learn your scales. Let me see. But there's nothing wrong with, let me give you another scale, and we'll just talk about just learning the thing, playing it. And let's do concert A flat. Jazz scales. Alright, how about we do this scale? We'll do, this is your, well, maybe you can guess it. Okay. What scale is this, and how would you use it? I'll play it. That is your B altered scale, your B super Locrian. Or let's do, well, this is very close to the same thing. Let's do A flat. Oh, where'd I get it wrong? Here we go. Yeah, natural. And then B again. This is another jazz scale. See if you can figure out the name of it. It sounds like this. That is your diminished scale. But enough of that. We could do jazz scales all day. We're going a little more basic. But okay. Well, I mean, since you bring it up, a lot of the time, so jazz scales, the most basic of jazz scales, you could talk about like the modes of a scale, right? So this gets a little bit complicated, but since Michael brought it up, that's just what you get. So let's talk about jazz scales just a little bit, which are just like any other, genre of music. It's just they focus on this a little bit more in the jazz setting. So they call this the Ionian Mode of your C scale. C Ionian, okay? If you start on the second note of this scale and go up to that same note, oh, why? Why do you do it? This is called your Dorian Mode, okay? You start on the second note, it's in the same key, but it's just going from this D up to the next D. Now, honestly, if you want to get good at your basic scales and all your modes, I think that's a great way to practice. And this is a way that I practice my scales, or I used to back when I was learning them. But I would play. And then the last one's your Ionian. So if you can play all of your 12 major scales like that on any of your starting notes, the most common jazz scales that you're going to have to know, you'll already know. For instance, they use this scale. No, where'd you go? I don't know what I did. Ah, there you are. They use this scale, this Dorian scale. Paste. Delete. They use this scale for the 2 chord of a 2-5-1. D minor 7. Actually, people would normally write it D minor 7. Right? And then commonly played after that is a 5. And the 5 is where the most fun can happen. So in this key, it would be a G7. In this, we would have a C major. Actually, we could just do this. C triangle. C major. I like triangle because that's what I'm used to. So here's your Dorian mode. We just talked about modes. So jazz scales. If you want to play a mode, this is the Mixolydian mode, the 5th note of your C major scale, and that has a particular sound. If you want to play a diminished scale over this, you certainly may. And if you use that scale, for instance, the scale is going to be write that down. Because I think it's half step, whole step. So taking this scale, since you asked, this is what you get. We're going to take this scale and we're going to come up with a 2-5-1 using the scale. It's a bit of a tangent, but you know, he asked. So fine, that's what you get. So I'm going to take my D minor 7. Here's a free jazz 2-5-1 for you. I'm going to use this scale to resolve it to C7. So check this out. This is the power of scales. So let me show you again. This is your D minor 7, G7, C triangle, and check it out. So we use our Dorian scale. Here we use, in G7, you have the option of using lots of different types of scales. This is why I recommend you have a good teacher to help you figure these things out and learn through these things. But when you're playing over a 5 chord, like this 2-5-1, you have infinite options to resolve this sound to the C major. You can use the dominant or Mixolydian scale. You can use your diminished scale. You can use your altered or Superlogrian scale. And you can also use, well, it's not a scale. You can definitely use your chromatic scale. And you can even use your, well, this is a chord, augmented chord. But you can also use your diminished chord / scale. So you have all these options. And if you know all these scales, if you know your dominant scale, you can play you can play that. If you know your diminished quarter scale, you can play this idea. And it sounds great. If you know your altered, you could do, I'll show you your altered scale that you would use here. Yeah, let's do this. Da, 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 da. So it's that. So I could just play, so this is the altered scale in G7. Unless I spelled it wrong. And I could play right? Or I could take this scale and just tweak what I played here, right? So instead of, I could play, which sounds a little brighter to me. The only real difference between this scale and this scale or this scale, these two, is thanks, Albany, is this note here. Here's a D. Here's a D sharp. Message retracted. You can't retract a message. Thanks a lot. Oh, no. You know what that is? That means it got removed. That's ridiculous. Come on, YouTube. That is crazy. You almost wonder if we were in Russia or something. Russia. So anyway, if you guys don't have anybody telling you these things, well, thank goodness you're watching. I wasn't going to get this deep into scales. I mean, we could go pretty intense. We get pretty into this stuff. I was just going to focus on like middle school level, but if you guys are watching, when you're you're adorable. Thanks, Albany. When you're going through here, if you're playing a 2-5-1 and you're talking about scales, jazz scales, these are some of the different options you can play. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. We're just trying to get smart, and YouTube is doing its thing. You know, rage against YouTube. Jeepers. Somebody write the YouTube president. Anyway, so this is how you can resolve a 5 to a 1. So if you guys are working on, I have no idea what this stuff is, to be honest. I never had a private teacher. Hey, it's never too late, Michael Ortiz. It's never too late. Hello, Manuel. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. If this is beyond all of you, that's fine. We can kind of take a step back a little bit. Or if you have a particular question, just let me know. I just play jazz music. I'm only good at screaming for lead jazz stuff. John King is the only person who ever taught me theory. You ever see the video? There's a video you can find. It's they dub it with the robot voice, and there's this guy. I am the lead trumpet player. I am the lead trumpet player. I only know how to play loud and high. I don't play musical. I just play loud and high. Well, do you think that you could play a solo? No, I am the lead trumpet player. I only play loud and high. It is all I know how to do because it is what I am best at. I play loud, louder than anyone, and I play high. I play highest in the band, higher than the trombones, higher than the sax players, higher than the piano. I'm the lead trumpet player. I only play loud and high because that's what I do. I'm the lead trumpet player. It's hilarious. You got to check out that video. It's just the funniest thing in the world. No more masterclass. For the summer, yeah. But A, take lessons if you want because I'm available. For now, I'm getting a lot of requests, so I fill up fast because, I don't know, people are desperate. And B, I think the only masterclass you'll have me in is for, what would I say? It's going to be, I think it's on Mondays or Tuesdays. We'll do master classes, but it'll be the classical stuff. I want to learn how to solo, but my parents can't afford private lessons, to be honest. Hey, it's cool. Honesty is the best policy. With soloing, you want to learn how to solo. I mean, if you're letting your ear lead you, that's the majority of it. If you want to get good at playing over a particular set of solo changes, you know, you want to, let's say you're trying to solo over the region music this year, right? A, I got a video about it. B, I got other videos about it. C, oh, so you're not even worried about the region etudes. But if you're trying to solo, again, just as an example, being able to, nobody can either solo or not solo, okay? There's no, this person's a soloist and this person's not a soloist. Because basically, you just need to learn how to solo over a particular song, right? So I know people who can solo very well over the B-flat blues, concert B-flat blues, but they can't solo over a standard like Just Friends or in a different key. Well, I'm glad you made it all the way to college. I mean, that's good. And the thing is, you don't ever have to stop trying to figure stuff out. I mean, honestly, myself, I used to work every summer, save up as much money as I could, and I used to take 2 lessons a week. I used to take lessons from a guy that taught me classical. I went to another guy on the weekends who taught me jazz. And actually, I'll tell you what, this guy that I took lessons with, one of the best trumpet players ever. His name is Justin Kaiser, Kisor. And you can check him out on YouTube. He's not as famous as some people, but he's just about the best trumpet jazz soloist that there is. You ought to check him out. Justin Kaiser, Kisor. He's fantastic. He's got a brother named Ryan Kaiser who plays with Wynton Marsalis in his jazz band, the Lincoln Jazz Orchestra. I think that's what they're called. And Ryan's fantastic too, but they're brothers, and they're both just fantastic musicians. So anyway, I would take lessons twice a week, and I saved up money all summer just to be able to do it. But, everybody's situation is a little bit different, and you do what you can do. If you can find somebody at whatever college you go to give you some pointers about jazz, there's tons of videos. Try to listen and transcribe solos, but you got to take it one song at a time, too. Start with the B-flat blues, get soloing on it. Pick a song that you just really, really like, a jazz standard like, something not too complicated at first, like Autumn Leaves, and just try soloing over it. I've only had one lesson ever, and it was with you. Yeah, I can't afford it all that much. I took it last year, about a week for a jazz region. I mean, I remember. It's all about, you do what you can do, Everybody's got their own situation. I try to make it as affordable as I can and still be able to, feed my family. So, I guess what I do, I break up the period in 2 parts, usually $20 a lesson. I don't know. Some people charge more, some people, it just kind of depends on the situation though. You do what you can do, but there's so much information out there. You can learn so much on YouTube. You can check in with these videos and ask questions if you want. Yeah, there's so many outlets to finding this information, especially online. And the best thing you can do is listen and copy soloists that you like. So, all right, there is the scale tangent of the century. I could go down the list though. Okay, so for example, we did dominant, diminished, altered. Chromatic is real simple. Chromatic's easy. Or John King once owed you. Well, let's not name names or anything, especially online. No reason to name names. Here, let me see. There we go. Just for everybody's safety. You never know who could be watching this. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah. If some people get behind, I try to be understanding. And it depends on the person too. I've had people who just they needed some time, and they always paid. I had other people who just didn't, and the people who don't, I say I'll give you more lessons, but you just got to get caught up first. And I do that mostly. A lot of time it's the parents paying for it. I do that mostly. I don't want the parents to stress about it because this is music, right? And what's music all about? Music is serious only in that it's a vehicle for, what would I say? For creativity, for expression. Music's great, but you got to have music in the proper context. Music is a tool. Music is the vehicle for creative spontaneous musical creativity. Music is music. Nobody should ever worship music, for instance. Put in the proper context. Music's fun. Music's worth studying. Music's worth getting better at, but I don't know. You got to prioritize food first. Food, electricity, water. And that's kind of how I prioritized it. As long as I could eat, the lights were on, the water bill was paid. What else is there? The mortgage is paid, then music. Well, it's a little different now that I have kids and a family, but anyway, chromatic I did. Augmented. I like augmented a lot. Augmented has a really cool sound. And you can use it anytime you can add a little bit of tension with a scale or with a chord and resolve that. There are particular scales and chords that do that really, really well, and that's why I like this. The whole tone scale does that too. How would I do that? Let me see. I gotta think on the spot. Because whole tone has its own sound too. Whole tone scale sounds like, and so to play a whole tone lick, so that's what it sounds like. So then to put it together, and then you can resolve it to C like that. And then you resolve it in some way. But yeah, there's all kinds of reasons for knowing your scales and knowing your scales well. There's all kinds of sounds that you can create using different scales. We didn't even touch the pentatonic scale, blues scales. There's so many different. A scale is just a collection of notes. And the more scales you know, the more collections of notes that you have, the more you can express yourself, the more sounds you can make. I really like using the pentatonic scale, like Freddie Hubbard did. How's that go? He played something like, and you can take that same scale and come up with different ideas like, or so it's just one scale that you can do so much with. And that's a really simple scale to learn too. That's a pentatonic scale. But anyway, that's about all I'm going to talk about for today. Let's see if there's anybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, got something out of it. If you have any other particular questions, feel free to come back in. I do this pretty frequently, so just come back in, ask any questions you might have. I'm going to sign out. Thank you guys for coming in and joining me. Good to see you, Michael. Good to see you, Manuel, with your upside-down smiley face. Good to see you, Albany. And I'll see you guys later. I should do like a raffle or something, shouldn't I? Some sort of drawing or giveaway. What could I give away? Like a mouthpiece, maybe? I don't know. I'll think about it. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.